Hello, out of this binary. Sorry I haven't uploaded in a while. Um, I just have kind of run out of ideas, and I'm not really sure how to address certain topics and things like that. So, um, I took like I guess a hiatus sort of for a few weeks, but I just realized today that I should probably upload a video because I think I do have um something to say about names, and I can't honestly, I don't even know how I'm gonna edit videos anymore because Windows Movie Maker has been removed from Windows, and I don't really know what else I should use, how I should go about editing. And I'm using my webcam again. I don't really feel like going through the trouble of connecting my phone and things like that. Um, and I also didn't script any part of this video, so I'm just gonna talk about uh, names, which is the topic for this week. Um, Names are they're complicated, and but they're also really important. And one of the hardest things I think when coming out as trans and exploring your own gender identity is figuring out a name, whether to keep your birth name, um, if not, what name to go by. Maybe you already chose a new name, but it doesn't really fit that well and you want to change it again, but you're worried about how people will see that, etc. Um, as far as my personal experience, how I chose my name, if that helps anyone. Um, so my birth name is very feminine. I've never liked it. That was probably like one of, I've had like very, very obvious name dysphoria um, throughout my life. It's never like suited me at all. Even when I was like a very small child, I just like hated that name, and I like really wanted a new name. Like I just hated everything about it. Um, and so then in like middle school, and I found out like what trans was, and I came out as a trans guy first actually because I didn't really see non-binary as like a viable option for existing in the world. um Look at me now though. But back then I was like, I don't want to be non-binary. Like I don't even want to consider that. I don't even want to consider that as like a thing because it's just like too different, and I didn't want to be like so outcast from society as to not like conform to the gender binary. Like I had to jump from one to the other, and that was like all that I could do. Um and that's a topic for another day, right? But so I chose a more masculine name. It was also the name of someone that I admired. I don't really want to say who, but um it was someone that I admired, and I sort of aspired to be like, when I was like 12, 13. So, um, and it was similar enough, and Andy is similar enough to my birth name that I could tell people my new name, or like, for example, if a substitute teacher was like calling names, and I told them like, oh, actually, I go by Andy. Like, I wouldn't. I would be able to tell people the correct name without outing myself, really. um, and so, because they would think like, oh, that's just a nickname. So I wouldn't have to explain my gender to people, or I wouldn't have to out myself to someone who could possibly be transphobic, or like say like, no, sorry, you're a girl, like I'm gonna call you by your birth name. Like that's my biggest fear. If someone purposefully calls me my birth name and purposefully misgenders me, like I'm cutting that person off completely. Like I probably won't ever forgive you either. Like I'm not a grudge holding person, but like unless you change your mind, I won't like let go of that. Um because it's a huge insult. And I'm sure other non-binary people and trans people can relate to that. Um, but yeah, so me picking a name, it was actually pretty easy. I wasn't really considering any other names, like, genuinely. Like, I didn't even really think much about other names. And also Andy would have probably been, my name if I were assigned male at birth, so, you know, by talking to my mom, she's like, yeah, no, I like the name Andrew. And I was like, okay. So going by Andy isn't, like, that much of a stretch. Like, that's probably what I'd be going by anyway if I was assigned male at birth. So, it all kind of worked out, and, you know, I think the name suits me. Like, I don't really have a problem with it. My only complaint, I guess, is that it's common, and, that I've not met, but I've, like, seen people who are named Andy who aren't good people. And, you know, that kind of sucks. But, I mean, yeah, it is a little bit common, but it hasn't really become a problem for me. Like, I haven't been in, like, a class or anything with any other Andys. Like, it's not an issue for me. It's not popular enough to be an issue, I guess. As for, you know, obviously my experience isn't the only experience. Lots of people have a lot of trouble figuring out a name, or trouble figuring out whether or not to change their name. And, I just want to say outright that if you are comfortable with your birth name, the name you were assigned, if you're comfortable with it and you don't really want to change it, but you feel pressured to change it, you don't have to change it. Even if it's like, let's say it's very similar to the gender you were assigned at birth, even though you're non-binary or trans, you still don't have to change your name. Like, you don't have to change your name to be trans or non-binary. I know a lot of people sort of have that impression, but, like, you don't need to change your name if you don't really feel the need to. And also, same goes for those of you who may have gone through multiple different names. I know a person who, since I've known them, has changed their name, I think 3 times. And there are also people I know that go by multiple different names. Both of those are perfectly fine. If you change your name once, twice, 3 times, and you still don't think your current name fits, it's okay to change it again. Like, it's okay to still continue exploring your options if you don't think that the name you're currently using suits you. And, you know, if people judge you for changing your name too many times, like, those people suck. Like, they aren't really supporting you if they aren't supporting the decisions you're making regarding your name, because that's a very personal journey and a very personal experience. And I don't think anyone has the right to pass judgment on that. If you changed your name 10 times and you want to change it again, you totally can. Also going by multiple different names. If you want to go by maybe 2 names, if you want to go by your birth name and another name, or if you want to go by 3 different names or 5 different names, that's perfectly fine too. What I would suggest in that regard, though, is to introduce yourself as one name consistently. So like if 2 people both know you, but they know you by different names, it might be kind of confusing. I can see how, like, it could be, like, very socially confusing, and I would recommend that, like, if you can sort of settle on one name as, like, a sort of a default, to, like, introduce yourself as, and, like, and you know, to, like, a general name, but then people can call you other names. I'd say that that's favorable just for lack of confusion. But again, it's totally up to you. Like, you don't have to follow this advice at all. Yeah, I don't really have that much else to say. I've been talking forever anyway, so I'm just gonna stop this video, upload it, see how it goes. I'll see you guys later. Bye.